r/Askreddit. What folklore creature do you think really exists? Megaconda. It's just a really big anaconda, and since those snakes grow continually throughout their lives, I wouldn't be surprised if some have, in the past, gotten over 50 feet or more. Might not be new to most people, but the jackalope actually does exist. Technically, the jackalope is a North American legend, a rabbit with antlers. In reality, it's a rabbit suffering from a virus that causes weird growths on its head. I think orang pendek probably existed until relatively recently, still probably may be extinct for thousands of years though. The stories make sense. They are widespread and common in the areas it was said to exist, and there is a fossil record for small hominids in other islands in Indonesia. So no one is gonna bring up that artist's impression on the wiki page? Felt cute might go extinct later. I will. If I saw that in the woods, I'd expect it to try and sell me weed. Looking like something out of a Shitty Pets copyright sign game for the Nintendo DS back in like 2011. Homo floresiensis is a small hominid. They were another species of human. Are those the same hominids that were preyed upon by Komodo dragons? Poor bastards. Imagine being shrunk to 3 feet tall and being dropped on Komodo Island with only a sharp stick for protection. Should have evolved TF out of there. They did. They switched their habitat to the afterlife. Sightings are still pretty common. The Pauke of Maori myth, or at least, it did exist. We've got fossils. The Maori killed off its food supply. Edit. It's the Haast seagull. New Zealand, the land of birds. Before people arrived, it's thought that the only mammals on New Zealand were bats. Edit. Aside from aquatic mammals like seals and whales. New Zealand doesn't exist and birds aren't real. Try again, buddy. Most of the ocean things I wouldn't be surprised by, considering we thought coelacanths were thought to be extinct until relatively recently. I think it makes sense that there's all sorts of crazy shit down there that we might never discover. It's like trying to find a needle in a haystack. Also Mothman, just because I think it's hilarious and too ridiculous to be fake. If Mothman did exist, it would be ducking terrifying. If I found out Mothman actually existed, I'd nope the heck out of this life. Kinda scared to Google on case of scary creepy image. I'm ducking weak, sorry. What's Mothman? Edit. Thanks everyone for answering. Urak. The Kraken is almost definitely an extra thick colossal squid and I want him found. Forget it. Too big for calamari. Do you really doubt that the Japanese couldn't find a way to catch him and serve him on a fresh bed of whale? They'd turn Cthulhu into calamari if they got the chance. Call it Cthulhamari. Deep fried elder god. Get your deep fried elder god here. Tinge of madness really brings out the flavor. That Japanese creature with an eye on his butthole that runs up to you and moons you while looking at you. Sure, I'm Japanese, lit, buttocks eye, is a strange yokai with an eye in the place of his anus. The story goes as follows. Long ago, a samurai was walking at night down the road to Kyoto when he heard someone calling out for him to wait. Who's there? He asked nervously, only to turn around and find a man stripping off his clothes and pointing his bare buttocks at the flabbergasted traveler. A huge glittering eye then opened up where the strange man's anus should have been. The two I think are most likely. The Kraken. Giant squid have finally been conclusively proven to exist in the last decade or so. It's not beyond belief an even larger variety is out there, or was still extant in the age of sailing. The other is Bigfoot Sasquatch. While the most well-known sighting recording has been proven a hoax, the stories of them go back hundreds of years in native tribes. The description is not that far off from the Gigantopithecus that once really did exist. While it seems unlikely a sustainable breeding population of those could have remained alive this long, it's not impossible. We've rediscovered other species thought extinct, and the Pacific Northwest is huge and there are a lot of very remote forests. I'm a lot more dubious of this one, but these are the two that seem the most plausible to me. I don't think it's necessarily likely per se, but my family are Irish and they hardcore believe in the fair folk, or the AOSC. They're not exactly fairies. They are different, meaner. You don't duck with them, basically, and if something's going horribly wrong in your life, it's probably because you ducked with them or you made them angry, and you have to be careful how you talk about them, too. Kind of like with skinwalkers. You don't name them. You just call them the fair folk. Or the folk. They mostly hang out and try to get you to owe them a favor. You don't take anything from the folk. Or you owe them one. And you don't want to be in that position. There's lots of different types that do lots of different things. Though, I don't wanna come off as that weirdo who believes in what is essentially fairies. But I grew up with the stories and I have a healthy level of skepticism about this. I'm not saying they're real, but I'm also not about to step into a fairy circle anytime soon. Especially not at dusk. We want them stories be. Not the poster but also Irish. There are fairy trees on our land that no one would cut down. None of us believe fairies exist, but it's just more of a cultural thing for any kids we might have. Some people do believe though. There is a politician in Kerry I believe who keeps blaming fairies for a pothole reappearing in a rural road. Maybe 80 years ago another farmer was murdered for cutting down a fairy tree. One of his neighbors thought they would get cursed. Fairy is a misleading word for the AOSC or the SID. Forgotten gods are closer to what they were known as in pre-Christian Ireland. They were the gods in Ireland before Christianity feared beyond measure, who battled the demonic Fomorians and drove them into the sea and lived in another world, and when the Christians came and tried to change the story to make them more mythical, they become the angels who lived in neither heaven or hell and instead lived in another world watching earth and messing with mortals. They were terrifying, but the thing that always creeped me out was how they were basically aliens before sci-fi become common. Mysterious creatures from another world who abducted people and then returned them with no memory of what happened. The fear some people have today of aliens is the same fear people back then had of the SID, and if aliens did come to Earth at some point, which I don't think they did, they would have acted very similar to the way the SID are described as acting. Of every myth and legend, the Fae are to me the most interesting and terrifying ones because of how alien they would be and how common the story of magic people coming and playing tricks to villagers were in most popular culture, and the cruelty in which they punished those who broke deals with them. Aliens, ghosts, gods, angels and devils all into one, wrapped in an almost human package. They are without a doubt the most terrifying and most fascinating creatures in any mythos. Unicorns, or as the modern world know it as rhinoceros. It's kind of hilarious that the entire reason the concept of a unicorn exists is that the closest thing shitty artists could relate to while trying to draw a rhino was a horse. Early elephant drawings are also horribly inaccurate. There's weird ship in the deep woods. I heard the Pope goes out there to do his business. Russian Yeti. There was a 3-hour documentary on Discovery and it freaked me out. It's actually just a typical Yeti, but it squats and wears a tracksuit. No, you're thinking of the Slav Squatch. Edit. Please stop awarding this, it's drawing attention to my fascination with turning words into a portmanteau. But also, credit to you /4x4 Taco for discovering this beautiful depiction of our mythical creature. Somebody wanted me to go on an expedition in the Ural Mountains to find a Yeti. They provided me with audio titled Yeti Screams and I declined. First of all, they are probably not real, and second of all, who the duck wants to find a Yeti? Those things are horrifying and duck knows if they're aggressive or not. What do you do that people randomly ask you to go on expeditions? Drugs. Considering the fact that we've recorded massive sea creatures moving faster and deeper than anything we know on sonar, along with the fact that we've explored, what is it, less than 2% of the ocean? We're also finding new sea creatures every single day. I think it's possible there's some big ship down there. Oh, and as someone else mentioned, ship in the deep woods. Not many people have gone to where I'm talking about. Even those that go miles into the woods stay on well-preserved trails. So how do we know there isn't ship miles into nowhere? We don't. I grew up on northern Ontario, and when I was a kid we'd fish lakes you had to fly into. There are thousands of them. No roads. As so many of us live in cities, we tend to lose sight of how ducking remote so much of the world really is. Mokelmbembe, a sauropod that lurks in the massive jungle swamp rainforest in Central Africa. According to legend, St. George the Dragon Slayer earned his moniker by traveling to Middle East, Libya, fighting and killing a dragon. You might assume, and many did, that the story was made up, but they discovered art in the Middle East from the time period showing a knight in full British armor fighting a giant crocodile. So I think it was all true and the dragon was real. The people of Britain just didn't know what a crocodile was. Edit. Shouldn't have said British armor. Better to say knight's armor. Edit 2. Middle East should be Africa. I'm a dumb immersion. Edit 3. The art was from Barcelona and supplied by the much better informed u/key Alexandria, whose reply is below. Mirrormedium.com link. Edit 4. I'm pretty sure the people of Britain still don't know what a crocodile is. I'd really like to see that art, it sounds cool. I think he's talking about this piece of art, though it's actually from Barcelona. Mirrormedium.com link. I talked about it a bit more about the St. George Dragon vs. Croc thing in a direct reply to his comment. Struggle to find the Middle Eastern artwork, but as you can see most of them depict the dragon as around the size of a crocodile. St. George. Someone pull this up. Should Jamie do it? Imagine traveling all that way just to kill a crocodile. I don't know about you, but if I lived my entire life never having seen a crocodile and then saw one, I'd be content with calling that ducker a dragon when I kick its ass. How else would you explain what a crocodile looks like to a bunch of people who have never seen anything even somewhat resembling it? It's like a dragon but with short legs and it doesn't breathe fire is a pretty good description for the Middle Ages. But the official legend said that George found the dragon to surprisingly small, about the size of a cow. So he trained it and gave it to the king as a pet. The dragon stayed in the royal garden, as the legend says. That would make sense to us where the gatters in the castle's motel comes from. Could have been twisted and embellished over the years. Wouldn't be the first legend to have that happen. The sea bear. The techniques to keep it away are very complicated. That's an oval. It has to be a circle. Move over. Good thing we're wearing our anti-sea rhinoceros underwear. Thunderbirds. If there was an undiscovered folklore creature somewhere, I'd put all my money on it being one of the ocean ones. Loch Ness monster, kraken, etc. Some sort of sea monster. The ocean is so incredibly big and goes insanely deep. Who knows what we can't see in the depths? Edit. To everyone hitting me with the loch means lake, not ocean. Yes, I am very aware of that, but it is called the Loch Ness monster because it was seen in Loch Ness, a lake which is very much connected to the ocean through River Ness, which means if it is real, there's a chance it's from the ocean, making it a sea monster. Although to be fair, I have no idea how big the river is, but it could have slipped through the river when it was a baby and grew up in the lake. The orang pendek. It's a small bipedal ape supposedly inhabiting the rainforests of Sumatra. A group of scientists even claim they have distinctive footprints and hair samples, but it's not really confirmed if it exists. Edit. Fixed name. Giants. Throughout history the average height for a and was pretty damn short. So a 7-foot tall man, certainly not impossible, would definitely be a giant. Throw in some late surviving Neanderthals and you get what certainly looks like a giant. As a form of a traditional demon, the Baba Yaga, a witch Slavic folklore, had an imaginary friend named Baba Witch that lived in my barn when I was little. One time I was playing with it and got locked in a room with no lock. I screamed for nearly 30 minutes before my mom got me out. Fast forward a few years, and I had gotten these things called creature cards, which were like big cards with pictures and facts about animals and monsters and stuff. When I saw the Baba Yaga, it looked almost exactly how I'd imagined Baba Witch. Fast forward to now, it all kind of clicked for me. In Japanese, Obazan is the word for grandmother, and old ladies in general are called babas, sometimes cause IDK. Old, not really related, but thought it was funny. My girlfriend that goes to another school. That toucan that drinks all those pints of Guinness. He's out there, irresponsibly flying while intoxicated, catcalling some seagulls, shifting in the bushes. Gotta watch out for him. Canadians. They are just not as nice as the legends say. Mermaids. Just because. When you've spent enough time at sea, even a manatee looks appealing. A manatee. Barbara Manatee, you are the one for me. Wendigo and skinwalkers. Edit. Guys, this comment got so many answers I can no longer read the new ones that are showing up because they, disappear from existence after I tap on them in my messages. What are skinwalkers? Too scared to Google at 2 AM. The Wendigo. El Chupacabra. It could very possibly be real. It really is not that crazy of a creature. Herobrine. Thanks for watching, mate. Make sure to smash that like button and subscribe for more high quality content.